Jaime Munguia moves to 37-0, 30 KOs, with a 6-round win over Kamil Szeremeta. Now, I've seen Szeremeta once before against Gennady Golovkin. For my money, even though I think Golovkin stopped him, was it a round later or a round earlier? I can't remember, but the fight was a similar length to this. For my money, Golovkin did a better job. He hurt the guy a lot more. He punished him. He put him down several times, whereas Munguia never managed to put him down once. Munguia's style is evolving. It's changing under Erik Morales, who trains him now. And I'm not quite sure how I feel about it, because one of the things I liked about Jaime Munguia, particularly at 154, was his energy, his work rate, his aggression. I liked all those things. Even his speed, he would throw these whipping punches. But since moving up to 160, and as I say, particularly under the tutelage of Erik Morales, to me, his punches don't look as fast. He looks a bit thicker now, like he's gained some muscle. And he has been bullied around the ring a few times. You know, I'm sure many of you remember those fights where he fought that Japanese guy. I think he was called Inoue. Let me check here. Yeah, there was the Dennis Hogan fight, the Inoue fight, Spike O'Sullivan, and so on. And he was getting pushed about in these fights. And I'm sure that's why somebody's thought, you know what? We need to work on this guy's strength. We can't have him getting pushed about like this. And so he might have gained physical strength. I don't know. I'd have to see him against some of the guys who were pushing him about before again and do a before and after comparison. But he looks more physically solid, right? He looks a bit physically stronger, a bit more thick set. But I think he's lost some speed there. And his punches just don't have that whipping quality to them anymore. He doesn't throw as many punches. And he also fights smaller now because he's, 6 feet tall, fairly decent height for a middleweight. He used to fight quite upright, not in a stiff kind of way, but just in a way where if he wanted to get on his toes and move about, his head wouldn't be too close to the pocket because he's usually fighting guys who are shorter than him. But now he fights in a more Canelo-esque kind of stance. Obviously, you could compare it to Morales too. That is his trainer. But as I say, he kind of hunches over more now, engages in the pocket, doesn't look to move as much. And time will tell in terms of whether this is the correct way to develop his style. But from an entertainment perspective, I don't know whether I like it. As I say, I liked the work rate for Munguia because I talk in many videos about the energy levels that you have when you're young. And Munguia is now 24. Maybe as he progresses through his 20s, by the age of 24, he just doesn't, and of course, moving up in weight, he just doesn't have the same energy levels that he had when he was 22 or 20. That's perfectly possible. But that to me was one of Munguia's strongest points, strongest attributes, was the fact that he had this tremendous energy. When he was fighting those guys at 154, the amount of shots Munguia used to throw, whipping shots, nice hand speed. I don't see that anymore. I see a guy who is trying to be more solid in his stance, stay in the pocket more. He was still getting clipped in this fight, by the way, against Szeremeta. And when you take a lot of the speed away, and I do think his hands are not as fast anymore, now that he's more thick set and he's not whipping the shots as much as he used to. I think that may have affected his punching power as well. Sometimes putting weight on isn't going to help your punching power. Sometimes it can actually take away from your punching power. If you lose speed, if you lose velocity off the shots, in some instances, I'm not saying in all instances, in some instances, it can actually diminish your power. And I wonder whether that's happened to Jaime Munguia here. One thing I do like about the development of his style here is that he's not, I mean, it's kind of a double-edged sword. He used to waste a lot of shots, okay? That's one thing I will say. But in certain fights, it's useful to be able to just throw loads because you can overwhelm your opponent. You can confuse your opponent. You can make him hesitant because he's constantly under attack. Whereas if you pick your shots a lot more, like Munguia does now, your opponent, unless you're a really big puncher, which Munguia doesn't appear to be at this stage, your opponent can get more brave than he would otherwise. If you were carrying on with the same volume that you used to, very high volume, you can put your opponent into a shell, you can overwhelm him. But if you don't have that kind of power and you're fighting, for quality rather than quantity, looking for quality shots rather than quantity, I don't know how well that style is going to work for him. Because if they're talking about matching him against Golovkin based on that performance, I'm picking Triple G. I think that if he's going to beat a Triple G, he's going to need to throw a lot more the way he used to. I'm not saying he needs to be reckless, but I think a guy like Triple G, who's closing in at 40 years of age, he's always had issues with people who overwhelm him. We saw that in the Derevyanchenko fight. We saw that in spots against Danny Jacobs. We even saw that in spots years ago against Willie Monroe and even Kasim Umar, way back. So in spots, he's always had issues with people who just overwhelm him with work rate and superior hand speed. And I always felt like Munguia, with the energy that he has, with the whipping shots and the work rate, he could give Golovkin problems, particularly an aging Golovkin. But this version of Munguia, who fights more in the pocket, who's not as upright, who's more there in your face to get hit, I think that makes it better for Golovkin. I know Derevyanchenko was in his face, but Derevyanchenko was much shorter than Munguia. He was able to get underneath Golovkin's shots. I don't see Munguia at 6 feet tall getting underneath too many of Golovkin's punches. He didn't get under many of Szeremeta's punches. So anyway, it wasn't a bad performance by Munguia as such. I don't think he lost a round in there. Maybe one round. He was in control the whole time. I think his jab was nice. But yeah, I'm just not sure how I feel about his style going in this direction. I feel like they need to harness that energy he has and the natural ability to have a high work rate. They need to harness that somehow and develop that and work on that rather than just settling him down and turning him into an Eric Morales-esque kind of fighter. I just feel like there's an ability there which is not being utilized with this type of style. So anyway, let me know what you guys think in the comments below about Jaime Munguia's 6-round victory over Kamil Szeremeta. Szeremeta's corner stopped the fight. Either Szeremeta quit or his corner pulled him out at the end of the 6th. And apparently he took this fight on 2 weeks' notice. I believe he took the Golovkin fight on short notice as well, to be fair. But yeah, he took this one on short notice as well. He tried his best. He did land some decent shots here and there, but nothing put a dent in Jaime Munguia. And as the fight wore on, he was getting caught more and more. But as I say, Munguia was caught a fair few times with left hooks, jabs. Szeremeta did land a good few decent jabs throughout the bout. And, left hooks, as I say. Munguia, if he's going to stay in the pocket like that, there was some head movement from him, but he's going to need to develop a lot more head movement from what I can see. And I'm just, like I keep saying, I know I'm repeating myself here, but a guy as tall as he is, I just don't know whether this is the right approach. Time will tell. Maybe he'll grow into this style and he'll look more impressive in this style in future fights. I guess we'll find out. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Come and join me on Patreon and access my weekly no-holds-barred, censorship-free podcast where we lift the lid on a wide range of controversial topics. It's not mainstream friendly, it's not politically correct, but that's the whole point. We dare to stand as a beacon of reason against an army of insanity. Just head on over to my Patreon page and select the tier called Hatman Hot Topics. You'll gain access to a minimum of 2 hours of exclusive content every single week, including podcasts, videos, interviews, live stream Q&A sessions, as well as my popular Confessions of a Nightclub Bouncer series. Not to mention a vast back catalog of hundreds of hours of previous episodes. You can listen via the Patreon app with the option to download in high quality MP3. We've also got a Discord server where you can come and chat and hang out with myself and other members. There's no contract, no commitment, and you can cancel at any time. So come and join our community of free and critical thinkers by signing up with me here on Patreon today.